Hello and welcome back to the channel of nonsense. This is Phil, one of the UK's most available freelance automotive motoring journalist people. He's been running this SEAT Ateca for the past 4 months. Now, unlike Phil, the SEAT Ateca was given a facelift in 2020 and it's still quite a smart looking thing. And it's one of the cheapest Volkswagen Group SUVs of this size. This is a 24 grand car. That's cheaper than a night with Phil. So I'm going to do a review of it, give you a walk around, all that usual jazz, and chat to Phil to see what he's thought of it over the past 4 months. Let's get cracking. Right, Phil's gone away in my Mini to mess around and hopefully go and get his hair cut. Let's talk about how the Ateca looks. As I said, it got facelifted in 2020. It got these new slimmer dynamic headlights. It got this lovely chrome bit around the grille, which also got redesigned, and it's got LED fog lights. But the big thing here is that this is basically the cheapest Ateca you can get. It has no options on it whatsoever. It's SE Tech, which is one up from the bottom of the trim levels, and it's got the cheapest engine. It's the 1 litre 115 horsepower petrol with a manual gearbox. So if you want the cheapest Ateca, well, keep watching because this is basically it and we'll find out if it's actually any good. Right, do you want to see that powerhouse of an engine? Let's check it out. Now, I don't know if this will come across on the video, but look how much room there is in here. That 1 litre engine is teeny tiny, and with 115 horsepower, it's got the same horsepower as my very medium-sized motorbike. It's got 200 newton meters of torque, and it's 10.7 seconds to 60, so it's not going to set your hair on fire. That's not the point. The point of this engine is to be, well, cheap, really. It's about 35-40 mpg, which is actually probably what you'll get from the 1.5 litre engine, but that costs several £1000s more. So yeah, you'll want this engine if you want the cheapest Ateca. That's all I can say about it really. 3 cylinders, turbocharged. You know the drill. The Ateca's 2020 update saw some changes around the back. You've got these new, slightly slimmer tail lights. You've got SEAT's new obsession with this weird cursive script for its name. Looks like it's been scribbled by a Spanish school child. The boot is not electrically opening because this is the base level one. Oh, Phil's left me his pram. That's very kind of him. It's a 510 litre boot. The Tiguan, which this is related to, the Volkswagen version of this, has a 615 litre boot. So this is 100 litres smaller than that, but it's a lot cheaper. You can, even on this one, fold the seats down using doodads at the side, and it's quite a big usable space really. It's a decent boot because it's a practical family car. As you would expect really, the back seats in the Ateca are perfectly roomy in terms of headroom and knee room. You've got 2 USB-Cs down here, a little pocket here, door pockets. It is fine, doesn't feel claustrophobic. It is roomy for adults as well as kids. Let's do the up front bits. Now up front, it's quite nice in here. Despite this being basically an entry-level car, it feels quite nice. If you want to poke this, you can. If you're an idiot, it's squidgy. You've got a 9-inch digital screen here. That is the latest Volkswagen Group thing. And I don't hate it in this because you've got physical aircon controls down there. How about that? They're finally learning. You don't get digital dashboard in this one, but you do in the top spec ones like the FR and things like that. You've got wireless charging. Oh, this has wireless CarPlay while I'm saying things that have wireless in them. You've got USB-C ports in there, cubbies. Yeah, sunglasses holder. It's got everything you need basically, and it feels quite nice. The seats are this grey cloth and they're very comfortable. Right, let's go and drive the damn thing. Okay, so let's go for a little drive in the Ateca. This won't take very long because, well, it's an SUV, but let's talk about the important things. Manual gearbox. It's very easy to use. If you've ever used a Volkswagen Group manual gearbox, they have had millions spent on them in R&D to make them easy to use. So yeah, pulls away really easily. The clutch isn't weird or spongy feeling. Some angry walkers there. Now, this one does not have dynamic dampers. And is it firm? Yeah, not really. You can feel the bumps, but they're not really jolting. You can kind of hear them more than feel them. I did not adjust the steering wheel. There we go. Phil has it a bit high, I think, because it's a bit orthopedic. But yeah, the ride is okay. You can tell that it's set up for sportiness already though, because it's not pillowy and soft like a Peugeot 3008. Oh look, there's some slow man in a Mini Clubman John Cooper Works in front of me. Okay, right, we're pulling out of a junction. Is it fast? It's not going to be fast. It's got a 1 litre engine. But do you know what? No, it's not fast. No, that's 40 miles an hour. Took a while. Yes, it is. It's fine. But in comparison to like one of the 150 horsepower 1.5 litre engines you can get in this, it is pretty slow. But if you mostly drive around town, it'll be all right. Now, the fabled Ateca handling. I say fabled. I went on the launch of this car when it first came out in 2016, 17. It was in the hills above Barcelona, and I was expecting a nice gentle SUV launch. And then we found out the car drove really quite well, and I got paired with a journalist who seemed intent on killing us and driving it on its door handles, because you can, if that is your bag, you can drive this really quickly around corners, and it doesn't feel unpleasant to do so. It feels like it's well within its remit to go quickly around corners if you want to. But yeah, it's quite an enjoyable thing to drive. It's quite quiet, the mirrors are good, they're quite big, the visibility out the back is brilliant actually, although you've got quite an unsexy framed rear view mirror. Phill has been getting about, he says 40 mpg on longer runs. It says 34 down there. And I think that's the thing. The 1.5 litre engine is going to get roughly the same fuel economy as this, because although it's bigger, it's less stressed. Whereas this, you have to thrash the knackers off it the whole time. But obviously you save on the overall cost of the car. There you go. What else do you need to know about it really? The driving experience is perfectly good and reasonably enjoyable for something like this. It's less doughy than a Peugeot 5008. Quite like having a manual gearbox. It's all right. Don't go thinking that a 1 litre engine is just way too small for an SUV, because it's not. So yeah, in conclusion, driving the most basic SEAT Ateca feels pretty good. Right, back to you, Tim, for an outro. Going to the pub. The pub doesn't look very open, to be fair. So, as I said earlier in the video, that Phill there with the hair and the hat, oh, don't put it away, he's been living with this for the past 4 months. Do you like it?
Yes, I do like it.
Good.
It's one of these cars that sits nicely in the middle of a lot of spectrums. And when you get to a certain age and have a certain child, you sort of need that, you know,
yes.
Your days of like slam it to the floor, make the suspension as stiff as possible. No, they're gone. You need some practicalities. And this has a lot of those practicalities, but still has a little bit of what Renault would call va-va-voom.
Va-va-voom.
20 years ago.
In terms of what? In terms of the handling?
It's quite fun to drive. Like, It's only got a tiny little engine.
Yeah.
But there's a saying that it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. And that is absolutely true with this.
Yeah.
Because in the chassis, it's just got a sort of sprightliness and agility to it.
That's
and
SEAT's thing, isn't it?
It is.
They do the sporty version of whatever Volkswagen Group is kind of punting out at the time. What's annoyed you about it?
I'm going to need a second because I can't
This
actually
is
think of anything.
probably a
What
good
hasn't annoyed me
sign,
about
to
it?
be honest, for the car. If you
Very
can't think of
little,
it.
if I'm honest, so far. I mean, there's an element of the fact that because it's been locked down and there haven't been that many events on, I've not done the sheer amount of long mileage that I might have done otherwise. I have noticed on the motorway can be a little bobbly.
Wobbly.
But then if I had something super sporty, it'd be a lot worse.
Yeah,
It's just a little bit.
Well, you had a Skoda Superb before this, and didn't you complain that was even bobblier?
Yeah, I had a sport line
Bobblier.
model of the Superb, which
Right.
is very specific, which is not the trim level to go for on a Superb,
Skoda,
because the
stop
Superb
it.
rides really well. You're better on smaller wheels, but it's not as bad as that. But it is a little like you can feel that's the sort of the payoff of the agility through the corners and the firmness of the suspension is that it's a little bit
But if that's your biggest
it's fine.
niggle, then
And to be honest, it helps send my daughter to sleep, which is half the reason I drive these days.
exactly.
Try and get her to fall asleep.
There we go, people of the internet. It is a slightly dull family SUV, but that's what you need.
It's not the dullest though. When you look at the
No.
other SUVs,
Yeah.
in terms of actually driving it, and in terms of this being a pretty entry-level model without any kind of VRS or S-Line or R-Line or whatever the hell people are going on about now, it's got none of that. It's just in itself quite sprightly, quite quirky and nippy and like a little puppy.
Like a little puppy. There we go.
Poos everywhere.
That's the verdict of a man that's lived with it for 4 months. Little puppy poos everywhere.
Doesn't poo everywhere.
Thank you. Let's cut to Tim doing something slightly different in this video.
Like, comment, subscribe.
That comes in a minute, but thank you.
Sorry.
You have to talk about hitting the bell as well.
Hit.
Right, so in conclusion, what do I think of the new facelifted SEAT Ateca? Well, it's a really bloody good family SUV, and it proves that you don't have to break the bank to get something that feels posh. This basic one for 24.5 grand will do everything you need to pretty well. It's got wireless Apple CarPlay, touchscreen stuff. It's fast enough, I guess, but it handles quite well. It's quite reasonable to drive and quite fun in terms of this sort of car. It's roomy, it's got loads of space in the boot, loads of space in the back seats. If you want a family SUV and you don't want to get suckered into having a Volkswagen badge or even a Skoda badge, then go for this. What I would say is that if you get a top spec one of these, like the FR one with one of the 1.5 litre engines, they're 30 grand. And that's Skoda Kodiaq money, really. You can get quite a nice Skoda Kodiaq for £30,000, and that is a much bigger car with more grown-up engines, slightly, some of the 2-litre diesels. So just bear that in mind. Right, that was very boring family nonsense, but thank you for watching. Practical advice. Bells, likes, comments, subscribe, do the above, please. Thank you kindly, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.